Hello and welcome to the Stress and Burnout Annual Health Promotion Briefing. My name is Nicole Emerson and I'm one of the health promotion specialists in Edmonton. And in this briefing, I'm going to talk about what stress is in the general sense and how unresolved cumulative stress can ultimately result in burnout. We're also going to discuss the obvious, so navigating a global pandemic and the emotional toll that that's had on so many. Then I'll end with some coping strategies that you can take away. But before I get started, I'm just going to read over this disclaimer. So the presentation you're about to view is the intellectual property of the Department of National Defense, Strengthening the Forces Health Promotion. Any reproduction or retransmission of the slides contained in this presentation is strictly forbidden. So now I'd just like to take this opportunity to allow you to check in with yourself. How are you doing? Have you reached your breaking point? With so much going on right now and daily case counts and you mask protocols and limits to gatherings and more restrictions, it's normal to feel fed up. We know it's very important to follow through with all of these things, but it can become quite tiresome. And it's normal to feel stressed where COVID has literally impacted every part of our life with going to work. It's changed how we go to the grocery store. It's changed how we socialize. And what we would typically do, perhaps to take a break and unwind and manage with the stress, we're not maybe able to do. Maybe if we would typically take a vacation or go and visit family and friends and socialize in some way, those things have all changed for us. So we have had to adapt as a result of this pandemic. But sadly, even without a pandemic, it's becoming more and more common to feel tired all the time, to lack enthusiasm about work or even personal life, or to even feel cynical and disengaged from what you're doing. So these are all symptoms of burnout, which is also becoming more common. So we've been through a lot these last 8-9 months with COVID, and it's still not over. So we're all navigating this together. It's new territory, and it's something that we've never experienced before. And so our reactions are probably going to be quite different. Some of you may be going with the flow and taking it one step at a time, while other people might feel like it's becoming a little bit too much and starting to wear on you. It's okay to feel either way. If you feel like you're doing okay, then that's fantastic. But if you're on the other side of that, then awareness is going to be key in implementing coping strategies or seeking professional help when you need is going to be really critical in your ability to cope and manage with this. So in looking at stress and COVID-19, so a pandemic is a very stressful event for individuals and communities, as we know and as we've been experiencing. So it's normal, like I said before, to feel stress and to feel anxiety. It is also important to note that it's common for people to display great resiliency during times of crisis. So let's take a look at how the stress related to the pandemic might be affecting you. So first, it's common to see fear and worry, especially focused on one's health and the health of loved ones. For some people, these worries can become excessive and even affect the way they function in their daily lives. So it might be becoming too much for them. It can be difficult to relax and to get a normal amount of sleep or to get restful sleep. And you might notice that your appetite and eating habits can also be affected. So there might be disruptions in one's eating and sleeping routines, and a lack of exercise can all have negative effects on your general and overall health, as well as your immune system, which we want to really focus on keeping up. Being stressed out can worsen the symptoms of existing chronic health problems, including mental health problems, so we need to be cautious of that. For some people, we can see an increase in the amount of substance use, such as tobacco or alcohol or other drugs, or even with gaming and gambling. And if these are being used, so alcohol, tobacco, drugs, gaming, and gambling, in order to manage stress, then that's going to have potentially a number of negative effects on health if it's starting to get out of control. And then also feeling stressed and afraid, as well as self-isolation and social distancing, as important as it is, can make it difficult to maintain close and social relationships. And those are so important to our well-being, especially for maintaining resiliency when faced with a crisis. So again, it's important to find, as you know, and as it's been said so many times, to find other ways of connecting with one another when we're not able to physically do so anymore or at this time. So let's take a look at this stress curve, and you'll see on the far left side, when you have too little stress, there's going to be low performance. But then on the far right, when we have a high level of stress, we also experience low performance. We know that stress is inevitable. We're going to have stress in our everyday life, and stress is not inherently bad. We need stress to motivate us. Stress is what motivates us to get out of bed in the morning. It gives us purpose, and it gives us a sense of what we're doing matters. But we need to find that sweet spot of optimum stress. So we don't want to have too much, but we don't want to have too little. But it's not always easy to achieve that. So we need to know when we need to step on the gas and get a task done and do what we need to do. But we also need to recognize when enough is enough. I need to take a step back. I need to relax. I need to recharge, and I need to take a break. Being hypervigilant and in that go mode too long could only last for so long. And it's a slippery slope into the other side, which is burnout. So looking at what burnout is. So burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. Researchers say that burnout can be broken down into 3 parts. So you'll see there the exhaustion, cynicism, and inefficacy. So with exhaustion from burnout could lead you to being easily upset, having trouble sleeping, getting sick more often, and struggling to concentrate. Cynicism is sometimes called depersonalization in this context because it is categorized by feeling alienated from the people you work with, for example, or lacking engagement in your work or whatever it is that you're doing. And then finally, inefficacy refers to the lack of belief in your ability to perform your job or to perform your job well, resulting in decrease in achievement and ultimately productivity. And many of you have likely seen and are familiar with the mental health continuum model. So this is a good tool to use in increasing self-awareness around your well-being. Check in with yourself like we did on that first slide, asking yourself how you're doing. And it takes effort and it takes time to do this so that it doesn't get to the point where you reach the other side of that continuum and you're now ill or facing this burnout and not knowing how you got there. So being able to take the time to regularly check in with yourself is going to be really critical and helpful in helping to keep you in that healthy zone. So it's important to recognize the difference between what everyday stress is and what is ultimately burnout. What often happens is someone brushes off how they're feeling as just a bad day or a bad week or a bad month, and it's nothing to worry about in their mind. They think, well, it's COVID-19. It's, it is what it is, and everyone's feeling this way. But on the outside looking in, it may be becoming more apparent to everyone else that it's not just a bad day, that there's more going on. And when we react to stress, we typically show signs that may indicate that we need to employ some additional coping strategies or seek assistance to maintain our mental fitness. It's important to be aware of these signs, and the mental health continuum model helps to illustrate the progression from the green zone, which is the healthy zone, to the red, which is the ill. And in between, you have that reacting and injured. So the changes are going to become more severe and more debilitating depending on where that individual falls within that model. So just to give you some examples, you might notice some changes in these following behavior. So it could be changes in someone's mood, where they might typically, be outgoing and happy, and now they're more irritable, impatient. That may transition into anger, which may ultimately transition into anger outbursts. You might notice attitude changes. So someone that may have a good sense of humor is now feeling sad, or you're noticing that they're sad more often, or looking more overwhelmed, which again may transition to feelings of hopelessness or depression. Someone's sleep patterns may change, where they normally are able to get good sleep. Now, in that reacting, there might be trouble falling asleep. And then in the injured, they may feel more restless or disturbed sleep. And then in the ill, where they can't fall asleep or stay asleep. So sleep is just kind of off, out of the question. It's not happening anymore, any restful sleep. And then you have physical symptoms. So again, starting off as physically well may transition to starting to feel some muscle tension, then some aches and pains. And then if things still are persisting for that individual, can ultimately result in physical illness. And then socially, they might start out as being someone that likes to socialize. And as humans, we like that connection. We need that connection with one another. And then as they're moving through that continuum, that's going to be shown as a decrease in socializing, to withdrawal, to perhaps not answering their phone or answering a text message from someone, and just completely avoiding other people. And then finally, changes in alcohol and gambling use. So again, regular and controlled use, which can be okay in the right circumstances and in the right amounts. If it's being used as a coping strategy to manage everything that's going on, that increase can make it maybe harder to control. And then over time, that could potentially lead into an addiction. And then what's the impact of burnout? So if you've tried to repair something that's worn out, like a pair of pants that have had the knees worn out of them, you know that while the patches on the knees may be as good as, or perhaps even stronger than the original fabric that was there, you can still see that the pants have been patched. Even the most talented tailor will not be able to hide the fact that they were fixed, that they were patched, and they're not ever going to be back to that original pair of pants. But that's okay, because in this case, the patches are better than what the original was. It's going to help with the upkeep and probably help you to have those pants for longer. Now, the same holds true when it comes to burnout. If you recognize that you're able to take some steps to create a patch, through learning skills, through strengthening resilience, to making connections, to seeking professional support, whatever it is, then you have grown as a result of the process. And you aren't the same, but you're in fact better. You're better off because you've taken care of yourself. You've recognized these things. But if you think that if you're transitioning to that burnout or to that ill or reacting or injured, and you're staying there for a prolonged period of time, and you're going through the motions, then there are things that are happening to your body and your mind that will ultimately change you mentally and physically. And as the slide says, burnout is not just a state of mind, but a condition that leaves its mark on the brain as well as the body. So what does burnout look like at work? So these are some of the more common symptoms that would come up as per what the Mayo Clinic defines it as. So the first one as being cynical and critical at work. So this would be the individual that it may be giving more than necessary to provide constructive feedback or make improvements. So basically, they are not being constructive. They're just giving you feedback just maybe to be a jerk, and they're not really helping the situation at all. Someone that's irritable or impatient with everyone that is in their circles. So someone that is irritable and impatient to coworkers or other people that they have to interact with, or friends or family, and really for no reason. Feeling like, or that individual lacking energy, so not able to do the job or get the job done anymore. Productivity is essentially in the dumps at this point. There's probably a lot of procrastination happening as well because there lacks the energy to even start the job or to complete it. There's extreme difficulty in concentrating on tasks. So it's like there's a manic monkey in your head running around yelling squirrel every 5 minutes, and there's absolutely no focus, no concentration, just not productive. There's a lack of satisfaction in what you're doing. So if you're doing little to nothing, then it makes sense that you're not going to be satisfied. You're not going to feel good about what you're doing because you're not doing anything. But if you are doing things and you're getting stuff done, and maybe this is even being recognized by other people and you're being praised for that, but if you're not registering that and you just don't care or don't see that you're doing a good job, then that's a pretty good indication that maybe you're nearing that burnout. Difficulty sleeping at night. So this could be for a number of reasons. It could be that there's too much so that your brain can't shut off, too much going on, or that there's too little stimulation so you're not mentally tired at the end of the day. Or you're wired because you have so many emotions going through your mind. So you might be frustrated, or it might be regret or concern for the future. And you haven't worked through those feelings during the day. And now that's all stirred up as you're laying in bed trying to fall asleep. And then finally, experiencing more frequent headaches and stomach aches. So again, that sign of high stress and anxiety and physically what that can feel like. So it's not just those aches and pains, but it could be physically feeling unwell. You're about to start your day and you feel like you're going to get sick. You don't even want to go to work. That's a pretty good indication that there's something more going on. That's not a normal response. And then we need to ask ourselves, how did we get here? If this is happening, what happened? So there's a few things that can happen to lead someone to burnout. One being workload. So it could be too much or too little, mostly for too long. It could be issues with control. So trying to control what you can't or shouldn't, or not controlling what you can. So that disconnect expends a lot of energy and can create a lot of wear and tear. So it's like this time of year, you're in your vehicle and you're just spinning your tires on ice. So you're literally just wasting a whole lot of energy, a whole lot of gas, and you're not getting anywhere. In terms of rewards, so you might feel like what you're doing isn't being recognized. So especially if you feel like you've been busting your butt and you're trying to get a lot of things done and you're trying to prove to yourself and prove to the people around you that you're doing a good job, and it's just not being recognized at all, that could prove to be very frustrating, and can wear you down. In terms of community, so how is the esprit de corps? Do you have a sense of unit cohesion? Do you have a sense of belonging in your community, with your groups and your close contacts? And if not, then what's going on? What's preventing that? In terms of values, so there's a lot of values that are instilled on us when being part of the CAF and D&D, CFMWS. But we also come with our own values. And when they collide, it can lead to a gradual wearing down of our resilience, our mental fitness, and ultimately ourselves. And then finally, fairness. So no one needs to remind us that sometimes we feel like life isn't fair. So if there's something, and there is something to be said for equity. So seeing that similar work ethic is treated similarly, or lack thereof, as the case may be. No one likes to either see or experience treatment that doesn't seem justified based on the circumstances. Of course, we have to bear in mind that this can largely be a matter of perception, and recognize that we see things through our own lens. So burnout is a sign that something needs to change, which also means that we need to identify the things that are within our control and can be changed, and that there are things that we need to accept and let go of, because fighting them or worrying about them or trying to influence them in some way, it's just going to wear us down, and it's going to get us nowhere except for not feeling very well. So what's in your control? What can you do? Burnout isn't just about workload. If you're on the other end of the spectrum and you're about to lose your ever-loving mind with everything that's going on, you need to take a step back and look at, okay, what's happening? What got me here? Is there anything that I can do to change this and to bring myself back to a healthier place? What is within my control? To overcome burnout, you also need to find ways to enjoy life again. When that burnout has been reached, life isn't being enjoyed anymore, right? It's really hard to find that enjoyment. So looking for ways to find that is going to be important, especially now, trying to find ways during this time and during our new normal is going to be really important. So the first thing is to focus on your daily care. It's easy to forget about looking after yourself when you're burnt out. You're feeling stressed, you've got too much on your plate, and the last thing you have time for is looking after yourself. But that's exactly what you should be doing. Maybe all you want to do is sit in front of the TV and binge watch something on Netflix. Once in a while, that's not a bad thing, right? You can watch Netflix, and that's not going to be the be all end all. But if that's the only thing that you're doing and there's no healthy coping strategies happening for you, then there are going to be issues associated with that, because you're not in that moment being proactive for your health. So you need to make sure you're doing things like you're eating well, you're eating regularly, you're staying hydrated, you're exercising, getting plenty of sleep. All these things are going to be critical when you're facing burnout. Also, doing what you enjoy, asking yourself what matters to you. What are you passionate about? What keeps you going? Burnout is often caused by resentment towards your present circumstances, be that your work life or your personal life or what we're all going through with COVID. To avoid the resentment turning into burnout, it's important to know what you care about most and schedule time for those activities. So find the things that are going to fill you up, that are going to make you feel that fulfillment and enjoyment that you need. Choose your attitude. This will have a huge impact on how you manage your day-to-day. As you know, if you go into your day with the idea that it's going to be a crap day and everything's going to go wrong, chances are everything's going to go wrong, because that's the lens in which you're seeing your day. If you go into your day pessimistic, with a negative attitude, glass half full, then chances are you're kind of setting yourself up as that self-fulfilling prophecy. So switch your thinking, look for the silver linings, because they do exist. They do still exist. We can't control what's happening around us, but we can 100% control our attitude towards it. Then we want to be mindful of our boundaries. There's a difference between truly having no choice and no control over something, and then simply feeling like we have no choice or control. And only you can legitimately judge the difference between the two. So find those healthy boundaries. Find the things that set the boundaries where you need to have them in your life in order to keep you healthy. Schedule regular wellness check-ins with your team. So this is going to be especially important now if you're not seeing team members on a regular basis. So however these meetings happen, take a few minutes to discuss and check in with how everyone is doing. So this open communication can really help to keep a pulse on that overall wellness of the team and where some people may need to have some more support. You want to build strong routines that protect your work-life balance, or just balance in general. So strong morning and nighttime routines are proven to increase your productivity levels and your ability to focus and improve your overall mental and physical health. So these routines are like bookends to your day. Your morning and your nighttime routine can include reading or meditating, enjoying time with your family, but also consider using this time to unplug from technology. Stop checking social media, stop checking the news, and just set that aside. Look for things that are going to bring you joy and fulfillment, not the things that are going to drain you and stress you out when you're either trying to start your day or end your day. Your self-care is essential. It's not optional, it's essential. And it's going to be essential in keeping you well and preventing that burnout. And then lastly, seek professional help. If you're experiencing depression, if you feel more anxious, if you're feeling like everything is very overwhelming, you're feeling high stress, don't hesitate to seek help from a trained professional. Contrary to popular and perhaps cultural belief, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. And then if you'd like more information, you'd like to continue the conversation and learn more, Health Promotion does offer a couple of workshops where we do look more at stress management and how to cope with day-to-day life and the stressors that come along with that. So we have the Stress Take Charge, but then we also have the very popular Managing Angry Moments workshop, which allows you to identify how you currently react with anger. And if you're not happy with how you're reacting with your anger and you'd like to look for better ways of managing those situations, this is a great workshop to allow you to do that. So some key takeaways: stay connected, choose your attitude, find balance in life and in everything that you're doing. Know when to ask for help and take care of yourself. So some final thoughts: accept that it's okay to be worried. It's normal to feel some anxiety about situations like this, but also know when and how to ask for that help. Take breaks from scrolling through social media, from looking at the news. Being focused on that for too long and too much is just going to not be helpful in the end. And when you do look for updates, because it is important to be informed, look for those reliable sources. And I can't say it enough: practice self-care. Get enough sleep, make sure you're eating well, make sure you're exercising, you're getting out as much as possible, outside, getting your vitamin D from the sunshine, and do the things that you enjoy. This is absolutely the time to lean on one another, not literally, but the fact that we can't be close to one another physically. We need to stay close emotionally. So stay in touch with your social network, reach out for that social support when you need it. And maybe you set up a buddy system with someone that you're close with. So you might agree that you're going to check in with one another and see how you're doing. And then you also have that person if you become sick and they need to run errands and vice versa. So it's a good idea to, again, build those connections, have those social contacts. You want to stay focused on what's within your control in all of this. Don't let that lack of control and everything that's feeling overwhelming, but you have no control over, take over your life. Learn how to set those things aside and just focus on what you can do in order to keep yourself well. And if you feel like it's too much, again, seek professional support. And we have the number here for SIFMAP, 1-800-268-7708. So be sure to use a resource like this, whether it's this one or another one, if you feel like it is becoming too much and you need some additional support. And finally, just to leave you with our contact information. If you have any questions about the information in this briefing, or you want to learn more and register for a workshop, the contact information is here for you. You can also follow us on social media if you want some daily healthy tips that help keep you motivated, give you some new ideas. Then feel free to follow us on those platforms. So thank you very much and have a great day.